taught me that my God and my ancestors will comfort, guide, and protect me as I walk through this wicked world. Family, please stand and join me as I present to you our teacher, our pastor, our chief elder, the Son of God who has been chosen to be and life and giving peace. Please put your hands together and welcome Tech family. Oh my goodness, how you guys doing today? It is so good to see everybody. I trust that y'all are well. I am. And to our visitors who are with us today, thank you for coming and being with us. And to those who are watching us by way of internet, thank you for joining us today as well. And I'm looking forward to a wonderful day. Today I received a message this morning from Minister Stewart. She asked that you would excuse her today. She's not feeling well. And I told her, I said, you do what you got to do to feel better. And also, my queen is in Raleigh, North Carolina today with her family. And I wanted to be there with that, of course, but I couldn't get a flight back here to get me here in time for today. So, unfortunately, I was unable to make that event of the family celebration there, but we send our love and our support and energies to her for safe journeys to come back to us. I give honor to the Almighty and to our ancestors, to our queen in her absence, to our ministers, to our elders. Thank you, Elder Jackson, for sharing those words of wisdom with us today. Yes. You guys don't mind if I get right into the teaching, do you? We usually kind of sing. I think it's a tradition that we kind of sing to kind of prepare our hearts and our minds for the message and so forth. But I hope that y'all can kind of pull up a song in your mind. And thank you, brother. You just put it right there for now. Pull up a song in your mind to kind of help you get in the spirit of music if you so need it. Or just think of Marvin Gaye. Okay, not Let's Get It On. But something like, what is the one? Mama, mama, there's too many of them crying. Yeah, something on that vein to kind of bring your mind into where we ought to be today. It's really good to see y'all. And I'm excited about all the wonderful things that the Almighty is doing. Brothers, thank you for carrying on today. Thank you so much. We had a wonderful elders meeting this week with the Council of Elders at Yours Market. And once again, I just want to say to the elders, thank you so much, elders, for being at the vanguard of this movement for us. The elders are very, very important because, and follow what I'm saying, elders and babies are very important because those are the two categories of individuals that's closest to the ancestral realm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever notice babies when they're born, they just like kind of like they're looking and seeing something. You know, they just came from that realm. And our elders who have been around a while, you know, we look to them for wisdom and life guidance. Because they've been around a while, so they should have some knowledge for us, some wisdom for us. And I ain't trying to rush y'all into the ground now, okay? But y'all are supposedly closer to going back to that ancestral realm than our younger people are. But unfortunately, notice how I'm saying that, unfortunately, we live in a society now, believe it or not, where our elders are literally becoming the majority of the population. Right. And that's because of the crime rate among our young people. Right. You know, and we have more parents burying their children today. And we need to really heal ourselves so that we can address that phenomenon. So that kind of leads into the message that I want to share with you today. The message I want to talk about today is one that I have previously taught some years ago, but I do not have a DVD on it. And it's not on videotape, and I want to put it on videotape because I want to air this on television, especially in the Atlanta area. You guys keep me in your prayers because, from what I understand, several pastors in Atlanta are anxious to talk with me about what I've been saying on television. And the TV show, the station that we air on in Atlanta is a network station. And a lot of people are getting to see it. I'm getting calls from members of very popular churches, such as Creflo Dollar's church, Eddie Long's church, Jasper Williams' church, and from other parts of the country as well. These are major preachers in Atlanta who, their members are going back to them and asking them about what I said on television. Yes. And it's a wonderful thing. Yes. Yes. I love it. When people start waking up. I don't know if you have, in fact, let me see if I can do this right quick. I wanted to read this on the air. If I can pull up my Facebook page right quick here. How many of y'all have ever heard of Bishop Carlton Pearson? Oh, yeah. Have you seen your hand? If you're okay. Well, just in case y'all don't know it, Bishop Carlton Pearson was one of the world's foremost, and notice I said was, one of the world's foremost black preachers. And he made some declarations that didn't sit well with some folk, and they end up disfellowshipping him from the church. And it's really something because the man only taught what the Bible actually says, but when you're victims of segmented biblical attention, now notice how I'm saying that, segmented biblical attention. Segmented biblical attention means that you have only been taught certain verses in the Bible, okay, for the purpose of linking those verses together to create what we call doctrines. And then you go and see other verses in the Bible that don't fit into the doctrines that were created as a result of segmented biblical attention. It throws a monkey wrench into the machinery of your thinking. Well, Carlton Pearson did just that. And of course, Oral Roberts, I'm sure many of you might have heard of him. Oral Roberts disowned him. Bishop T.D. Jakes disowned him and disavowed him. Bishops in the Church of God in Christ, which we both are out of that denomination, renounced him as well. And he became a very unpopular person. Well, this couple of weeks ago, he wrote something and put it on the internet. And here's what it says, and here's what I put on my Facebook page, if you allow me to share this with you. A message from Bishop Carlton Pearson. And I put my own preface there before reading what he has, and that's what I wrote. I said, no, I am so thankful to God that the truth is coming forth from those who, even as I did, once preached the lie. I can hear truth yelling to those who still want to hold on to their religious programming, saying, ready or not, here I come. Please read Bishop Pearson's words carefully and hear what he is so tactfully trying to say. Now, I'm going to read to you what he said, but I want you to listen carefully and listen to how he's saying things. Mind you now, this is the bishop who made T.D. Jakes popular. If it wasn't for Carlton Pearson inviting T.D. Jakes to speak at his Azusa conference, a lot of folks wouldn't even know who T.D. Jakes is. Carlton Pearson used to have a Pentecostal conference called Azusa every year, and thousands of people would go to his conference. Here's what this same man wrote a few weeks ago. His article is called Christianity, Inc. Meaning it's a business. That's right. By Bishop Carlton Pearson. Here's what he said in his article. Christianity, Inc. and religion overall is broken. Not broke, just broken. It is in serious disrepair systemically. The world is watching things shift, even if in some aspects of denial. The English word history is in effect a combination of the words his story, meaning the story of Jesus, who is called Christ. Though he is recorded, notice how he's saying this now, though he is recorded to have said, I must go, so far we have refused to let him go. Did y'all catch that? We have refused to let him go and instead build an entire religion, indeed a cult, following around him. This is not new. It was done by the Buddhists around Siddhartha, Gautama, or also known as Buddha, and Islam around Muhammad, Zoroastrians around Zoroaster, and the list goes on. It seems ironic that the next Pope's election will be noted by smoke, as in blowing smoke. He goes on to say, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Jesus confronted his religious traditions in the same way, and now the religion named after how he was perceived. Did y'all catch how he said that? And now the religion that was named after how he was perceived, meaning Messiah or Christ, is repeating the dogmatic spirit he confronted over 2,000 years ago. When will we ever learn? Check how he handles this now. He does this so tactfully. So he can't just come straight out like I'm saying this ain't never existed, right? Because he's still dealing with his transition here. He goes on to say, I strongly believe in messianic consciousness. He didn't say, I believe in the Messiah. He says, I believe in messianic consciousness, or the appearance of messianic persons and personalities throughout human history who seem to have been enlightened and evolved persons. The problem is the devotees and followers of these, quote, messiahs, teachers, institutionalize the teachers more than their teaching, causing the doctrines or teachings, forces and farces after the God-type person disappeared or died, whether Moses, Jesus, or Joseph Smith. He goes on to say, this is some deep stuff, man. I had to post this on my page. You know, he goes on to say, we have called Christianity, listen to this, one of the most foremost black bishops of our day. Here's what he just said. We have called Christianity the greatest story ever told. When in fact, it may be little less than the greater story ever sold. And billions, and notice what he says. He says, and billions of us bought it and have bought into it. The question is, what have we been sold? And why do we continue to buy or sell it? Wow. Do y'all hear this? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
He goes on to say, I love God and follow the Christ principle. He said, I follow Christ. He said, I follow the Christ principle and person, Jesus. But to worship him, something he would have deplored, or to become a cult follower of the religion built around him. This is blowing my mind as I'm reading it all over again. Or the religion built around him and the fear-based theology that suggests him protecting us from God, or God's wrath, basically the same thing, is the greatest delusion the world has known in recent history. Don't tell me truth ain't coming around. Yes. He goes on to say, Jesus didn't come to save or protect us from God, but to reconnect to God in consciousness and perhaps save us from ourselves and our misinterpretation of ourselves in relation to the God or the divine. I embrace Christ's consciousness in principle, but the institution by the same name is corrupt. Wow. Wow. Obsolete and full of deception, managed and manipulated by the deceived. Wow. Y'all, I got to read that line again. Check what the band said again, y'all. He said, I embrace Christ's consciousness and principle, but the institution by the same name is corrupt, obsolete, and full of deception, managed and manipulated by the deceived. Wow. You may ask what redemptive value or virtue I find in pointing out these all too obvious speculations. I consider myself a change agent, he said, eager to help free people from religious tyranny and unreasonable dogma. Such freedom will add to the preservation and dignity of life on planet Earth. Institutional religion has deteriorated to a crowd-controlling deceptive vice that is running out of fuel and people by the millions, are awakening to realities beyond our codependence on it, which is a good thing. An awakening is occurring. Bishop, I didn't write this. Bishop Carlton Pearson wrote this. An awakening is occurring as we speak, as we think. In religion, as we've known it is being forced to shift, in some cases dissipate and disappear. As we release and relinquish the old and embrace the fresh and new with open arms, hearts, and heads, we will enjoy a new freedom. We call it liberation, y'all. We will enjoy a new freedom and spiritual illumination that will cover the earth. It will be exciting. Wow. Carlton Pearson. Wow. I say. Peace is possible. Wow. Yeah, buddy, if you'd like to get that article, just go to my Facebook page and copy it, print it out, email it out, disseminate it. Because brothers and sisters, whether we want to admit it or not, truth, as I said in my opening, truth is saying out loud, ready or not, yes, here I come. Yeah. Okay. Oh, shucks. Are y'all happy about that? I say, yeah. I want to reiterate also with our brother Bernie Hayes. He was with us last week, and he didn't get to say to you guys this, but while we were having dinner downstairs on last Sunday, he leaned over and he said, Ray, I had no idea that the African village was like this. He said, I've been meaning to come here for years and didn't get around to it. But I'm so glad I got to come and experience being at the African village today. We touched that man's life, he and his wife, last week. And I thank you, because if it had not been for you, that touch would not have been possible. Thank you for what you've done on last week for our 15th anniversary here. And 15 years, man. Pastors here told me we wouldn't be here 3 years. And here we still are. Well, they can get ready because, shucks, man, we get ready. We just getting ready to get busy. Can I get an outshake? Yeah. See, that's the deep thing about truth. When truth comes and starts tearing down the mountain of lies, it's at war. But eventually people who are exposed to it start taking hold to it. Hold, I should say, to it. That sounded like my grandfather did. Hold to it. And it generates and germinates in us. And as we begin to pass it to other people and people see that we have not gone crazy, then they start saying, well, let me start looking a little closer over there. Let me start seeing what these folk are really about. I heard what they was about. And in fact, I think we had a couple of elders here who said the whole reason why they came over here is because their pastor got up in the pulpit and told them, don't come over here. And that's how we are. You know, you want a person to do something, tell them don't do it. We don't understand that reverse psychology, you know. Oh, I'm excited. Well, the message for today. The message for today is entitled Calvary. Where and what it is. Now, we gave you some handouts. We're not going to get to those just yet. But instead of putting it on the screen today, I gave you handouts so that you can write on it, take notes, and carry these handouts with you so you can share what I'm getting ready to share with you with other people. Everybody repeat these words after me. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him. How many of y'all have ever heard of Calvary before? All right, everybody's hand is up, okay? We just came through the spring or vernal equinox, and they have a day that they celebrate on the first Sunday after the full moon of the vernal equinox, and that Sunday is called what? Easter Sunday. And of course, we were taught that on the Friday before Easter Sunday, which they call Good Friday, that they took this dude named Jesus out to a place called what? Calvary, and crucified him. Right? Well, so that we're clear, even though you know this, many watching me don't know this, so I guess I need to say this to them. That never happened. Historically speaking, that never happened. So what do we mean here when they came to the place which is called Calvary? There they crucified him. Make note of this on your paper. That's in Luke, the 23rd chapter, the 33rd verse. Luke 23 and 33 is where it reads what we just said. Now, it's important, brothers and sisters, to understand that the word Calvary is only mentioned one time in the Bible. Only one time. And before I even go into the rest of the message, let me fast forward and give you the punchline to what this is about. The word Calvary comes from the root word, or etymologically speaking, comes from the word cranion. It's spelled Kranion. Cranion. What English word do you hear when I say cranium? Cranium. And I know some of y'all are pointing up here to your head, right? Well, in another passage, it says Golgotha. In place of the word Calvary, it says Golgotha. Golgatha. Again, that's Golgatha. Golgotha means the skull. Okay, and of course in the Bible we use the phrase the place of the skull. Now put those two concepts together. Cranion is cranium. Golgotha is skull. So we're still talking the head. A again, that verse says, and when they came to the place which is called Calvary, or Cranion, or Golgotha, the skull, the head, when they reached this level, there they crucified him. So the point I want you to get out of this message, and I'm going to come back to this point, but I want to be sure you're getting it now up front so you can see how I'm going to put all this together. Look at the person nearest you and say, when you get your head on right, those who don't have their head on right want to crucify you. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
I can't think of a better depiction of what I'm saying than the movie The Matrix. Because once you are delivered from the matrix, once you start thinking right, once you get to Calvary, then you become an enemy or a threat to the system that keeps our people dumbed down. And the only thing left for them to do is to get rid of you or crucify you. History, and what word did I just use? History or his story tells us that about 2,000 plus years ago there was a guy who walked this earth for real, who was a great teacher of humanity. He was a philosopher, he was a social leader, he was a moral teacher, he was a religious reformer, and he was a healer. Well-known guy who went throughout the Roman Empire changing things. Despite the evil rulers in the Roman Empire, he was the greatest man of his age, and his birth date, according to history, is 4 BC. Now, what's really deep about it is we were taught that Jesus was born 4 BC. What does BC mean? If BC means before Christ, then how was Jesus born 4 BC? So all you got to do is think. All theologians will tell you that Jesus' year of birth is 4 BC. Yeah, that's what they taught us. And we don't even think, man, because we ain't at Calvary. This person that I'm referring to was considered a Christ. What did I just say? Considered a Christ. He was considered a Mashiach. He was considered a Messiah. And again, you got to remember now, in the Hebrew, the word Mashiach, which is the English word Messiah, simply means one who is anointed. In the Greek, the word Christos, which is the English word Christ, simply means one who is anointed. So guess what, y'all, in case you didn't realize what I'm about to tell you, that you may have some Mashiachs or some Christos among you. Our young people who are coming up, who are endowed with abilities to communicate truth, you can call them anointed to do that. Our leaders who have gone before us and made changes in our environment and were endowed by the ancestors and the Almighty to make a difference in the lives of our people, whether we want to accept it or not, we have to honor them as Christs. Like Medgar Evers. Those names that we call every week, like Mary McLeod Bethune, like Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass. These are people who were anointed by the Almighty to do wonderful things for us, or else we wouldn't be here today. So we have to honor these Christs. preceded us. Am I making sense, y'all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to understand that brothers like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a Christ.
Yes.
People want to demonize the man and say, well, y'all don't know about Elijah Poole. Many of us don't know about Elijah Poole. We just hear about Elijah Muhammad, and people are trying to bring up his criminal background and all of the things he did when he was Elijah Poole, like folk don't change. See, it's hard for you to understand that people can change if you haven't changed.
That's right. That's
Did y'all get that? I just preached the whole sermon in that one line. It's hard for you to understand that people can change if you have not changed. You take brothers like Malcolm X, who was a Christ. Martin Luther King, who was a Christ. Ray Hagins, who is a Christ. I'm not telling you, if I don't know the truth about myself, what good is you knowing it? I gotta know. I gotta know that God has. That's why the theme I chose for this year's anniversary is He was born for this.
Yes.
This brother I'm talking about, who existed 2,000 plus years ago, his name was Apollonius. It's spelled Apollonius. Don't take my word for what I'm saying. Go look it up. Read about him.
Spell it again, please.
Apollonius. Apollonius of Tyana. This one dude defied the bloodiest tyrants in the Roman Empire. He went about making changes, and he was causing such a problem in the Roman Empire that they decided to hold, when they did decide, he was part of the reason also for the reason of the Nicene Council meeting. So what they did is Constantine decided to take the life, deeds, legacies, and contributions of Apollonius and attribute them to this new created Serapis image that they call Jesus. You see, the Serapis image was merely an image. It hadn't done anything. It was merely an image. So they had to have a life story to attach to the new Christ image, or to the new found Jesus Christ. So they took the life, the deeds, the legacy, the biography of Apollonius and attached it to their made-up Jesus. After all, when you look at the Christian fabricated figure, he is a compilation of various God men throughout time, starting with Horus or Heru of ancient Egypt. See, Apollonius does not claim, there's no claim of a virgin birth to Apollonius. So the virgin birth claim comes from Egypt. Y'all grab what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you take people like, or figures such as Horus of Egypt, Prometheus, Adonis, Zoroaster, Krishna, and you put all these biographies together and attach them to this guy called Jesus. And so Jesus is the newfangled image that's taught and forced upon our minds. In fact, look at somebody next to you and say, he's the most recent Savior in human history. I know y'all think he's the only one. I know y'all think he's the only one. So what happens here is, after they attached the biography of Apollonius to this new created image that Constantine ordered into existence in 325, the Roman churchmen had the responsibility to literally go out and eliminate all traces of this guy called Apollonius from the minds of people. It's deep though, because they did such a good job at eliminating this information about Apollonius that for almost 2,000 years, nobody spoke of him. The only reason why we know about Apollonius is because there was a book about him, or writing about him, that was secretly taken to the east and held by Arabs, according to his story. The Roman Catholic Church searched far and near to eliminate all traces of any information about Apollonius, because if the truth came out about Apollonius, then people would clearly see that Jesus is Apollonius. No cultural loss, grab this well, no cultural loss has ever occurred in a greater sense than what the Roman Catholic Church did in Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt, when they set fire to the books and destroyed the manuscripts of the Alexandrian library. And those manuscripts that weren't stolen, were plagiarized and credited to people like Aristotle, Plato. Aristotle and Plato, we don't know if they wrote anything at all. We were taught that they did, and the reason why we were taught that they did, everybody say it's for the sake of cultural imperialism. Now what I mean by that is, see, these people, Plato and Aristotle and all this, these are supposed to be Greek philosophers. But the truth about the matter is there is no established evidence of such a thing called Greek philosophy. Because the things that we're taught about Greek philosophy came from the Alexandrian libraries. Are y'all grabbing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, this message is not about Apollonius today. I just shared that with you to let you know about a person who was a Christ, who went about healing people. And according to records, he lived to well over 100 years old in perfect health, because he was a vegan. He didn't eat flesh. I knew I would get some kind of response from those who don't eat meat. But just like Apollonius and other messiahs and other Christs were used of God for the elevation and spiritual development and empowerment of others, so can you, who are sitting right here listening to me, and those who are watching me, so can you be used of God for the empowerment of our people. But in order to be used of God, grab where I'm going now, in order to be used of God, there's some place that you have to go first. And that place is called Calvary.
All right, now.
This is the message in the allegorical story of Jesus going to Calvary. Because he did not become, in the story, a resurrected Savior until after going to Calvary. Just for the sake of understanding, let me be sure that I declare this now. I am not a student of metaphysics, nor am I a metaphysician. Did y'all hear what I just said?
Yes.
And the reason for that is because metaphysics is based in philosophical concepts and speculation. It might sound good. Hear me now. Hear me good. It might sound good and reasonable, but its claims and its teachings are unverifiable and non-scientific because metaphysics has no biological or material data by which it can be measured. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
For example, those who claim to teach metaphysics are mostly those who have a problem with the church. Now follow where I'm going with this. Most people who claim, teach, and preach and promote metaphysical understanding, metaphysical awareness, will tell you that preachers are playing a game on people. But metaphysicians and people who practice metaphysics will tell you that you need to ascend to the level of mystical beings. You need to learn how to meditate until you can transcend this realm of existence and get out there into the ethereal realm so you can telepathically communicate with ethereal beings. In other words, in order to have the power that you really want in your life, you need to learn how to operate in the ethereal realm, not in this dimension, but out there. In that dimension, the fourth dimension, you know there are fourth dimensional beings. Y'all, of course I'm acting this out. I hope you know that. Don't think that Brother Ray is teaching what I'm saying. When I start doing all this and get theatrical, I'm trying to tell you where these folk are at out there. And then he wants you to get out there so that you can actually deal with non-physical entities. But then these same people will turn around and tell you ain't got no business going to the church where the preacher says, come down here, let me lay hands on you and heal you. Let me make this clear to you. What's the difference? And I hope you don't think I'm attacking metaphysics. I'm just trying to get us to understand that, first of all, metaphysics is not even an African word. Metaphysics is a word that came from the so-called works of Aristotle. Aristotle did not even use the word metaphysics. In fact, the word metaphysics was used for the first time around the middle of the 16th century. Now grab how deep this goes. And we didn't use it. Europeans came up with this concept of metaphysical. And the Europeans came up with the concept of metaphysics because metaphysics means, meta means beyond. Yeah. Physics means the physical. So when Europeans saw African spirituality, they had to label it.
You're right.
Are y'all grabbing what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So Africans don't need to concern themselves with metaphysics. Africans simply need to be who and what they are. We are spiritual beings. We are spiritual people. We operate in the spirit realm naturally. Yes. That's what the black church is really all about. Only thing is they got the message inaccurate. The black church is telling you about a person that the Roman Catholic Church created. That's the only thing, well not that I'll say the only thing, because they do some other stuff that ain't cool, like financial exploitation and all that kind of stuff too. But the major thing about the black church problem is its indoctrination, which came from the European mind. But the modality, the practice of the black church is really what the white man been calling metaphysics. But you got some folk who are so anti-church. Right. Hear me. You got some folk who are so anti under another name. What's the difference between a metaphysician saying that you need to get out into the realm of dealing with those things out there? What's the difference between that and the preacher saying, y'all listen, the Lord dealt with me and took me into a realm where it's unlawful to speak of? What's the difference? What's the difference between a metaphysician talking about ethereal beings and the preacher talking about the angels began to talk to me? Ain't no difference. What's the difference between a metaphysician talking about what you need to do to heal yourself and then the preacher saying, I'm going to have a healing service here on Friday night?
Come on.
There's no difference. Except one is in the church and one ain't in the church. And the one that's not in the church is operating on the same principle. But you want to call it metaphysics. Why don't you just get real and go back to church? Just go on back to church and when you get there, say, I found out that Jesus don't exist. Ontological concepts. Ontology. Concepts about a particular theory about nature. Everybody say epistemology.
Epistemology.
Epistemology is also part of this being real deep that metaphysicians claim to use. Epistemology, now, so that you'll know, and that's spelled E-P-I-S-T-E-M-O-L-O-G-Y, epistemology, E-P-I-S-T-E-M-O-L-O-G-Y. Epistemology, remember I told you, ology means the study of a thing. Episteme means knowledge. So epistemology is the study of knowledge. Now let's deal with this for a moment. Ask somebody next to you, how do you study knowledge?
How do you study knowledge?
Think about that. Think about it. How do you study knowledge? So you got folks who are so deep that they're trying to know about knowledge. They're trying to study knowledge. Epistemology. What's the difference for a person who practices student of metaphysics to say, I'm studying knowledge? What's the difference between them and the preacher in the pulpit saying that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me? And He has given me the gift of knowledge, which is a spiritual gift in the book of Corinthians. The word of knowledge. In other words, because the Lord is enabling me to know that which is unable to be known. See, this is what the black church does, man.
Deep stuff.
Are y'all grabbing this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we look to the anointed preacher. Oh man, hear this. We look to the anointed preacher to give us a word. Have y'all heard these concepts before? Give us a word. In other words, we want the preacher to give us a word that we don't already have. So churches are packed because the man of God or the woman of God have a very special message from divine revelation. That's metaphysics. Everybody say a rose.
Rose.
By any other name.
By any other name.
Smells just as sweet.
Just as sweet. I say.
You can call a rose a stinkweed. It still smells good.
Still a rose.
Still a rose. You can call a rose a skunk blossom. It still smells good. So don't hide under another name and doing the same thing simply because you don't want to be a part of the church no more.
Right.
Right.
Now, I ain't talking to y'all, I'm talking to those out here look watching me. Keep it real. Then you got those who are real deep and they get into astral projection. Y'all ever heard this before?
Yes, sir.
Astral projection. This is when you meditate to the point to where you can leave your body and travel to other locations. Look at somebody next to you and say, why you want to do that? Now look back at them and tell them, when you get there, ain't nothing you can do. You can't pick up nothing. You can't speak because your mouth is back there where your body is. I mean, come on, God, keep it real. Everybody say, keep your feet on the ground. You see how deep we get, and we want to impress people with, I remember one day when I was in church, a preacher came, I was young, I was in my teens at the time, and he came and he said, the Lord took, he had his lady stand in front of him for prayer. He said, the Lord took me into your house last night. I saw the color of your carpet and everything.
Oh, my.
And she stood and said, hallelujah! Thank you! Now, even as a teenager, I'm sitting on the organ, I was a musician, I'm sitting on the organ saying, now why did he do that? What was the sense of it? He wasn't physically there, but he astrally projected. And he was saying them, he didn't really tell us what went on in her house. He just said, I saw the color of your carpet, and she lost it. See, the purpose of that was to let us know how deep he is. Am I making sense here?
Yes, sir.
Well, y'all, we fall for that same stuff under so-called concepts. Now, the reason why I'm dropping all this information on you is because I'm getting ready to share something with you that I do not hold to. Within the connotation in which has been said to us. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
I don't want y'all thinking I'm going out there. I don't go into the fifth dimension. Okay? I'm doing everything I can to deal with stuff that's on this dimension. I don't need to be seeing no strange beings. Because y'all have to catch me running down 70 if I did. I don't play that. You follow what I'm saying? Okay, I'm not trying to communicate with Men in Black concepts. Are y'all getting this?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm doing everything in my power to keep my feet flat on the ground of reality. Okay, and it's a deep thing how I talk to people who are so deep out there. They got all this hair. And ain't got a pot to or a window to throw it out of. Ain't got nothing to show for being here. Why is it that the people who claim to do all this stuff are not doctors and lawyers and y'all grab and accountants? But the people who claim to be so deep are our brothers and sisters who wear arcs as big as the arc the size of that one down there on their chest. And locks and to speak all kind of deep spiritual stuff and can't hold a job. Y'all grabbing what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Don't pay their bills, don't take care of their children. But yet they can speak in the ethereal realm. So I don't want you to think for a moment that what I'm about to share with you is the principle that I hold to. However, I don't know of, hear me well, I don't know of another analogy or illustration to make my point to you today.
Come on, God.
I handed out a piece of paper, and I trust all of you have it, and on the paper it says energy centers. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, how many of y'all have ever heard of the concept of a chakra before? A chakra, okay, or an energy center in the body, okay? Now, I repeat and I state to you again, this is not something that, see, I'm a teacher. I'm not a metaphysicians and metaphysics practitioners can claim all this stuff. And the reason I told you earlier, you can't validate or prove a metaphysical claim. Because there is nothing to measure it by. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
I mean, just like the preacher said, the Lord showed me such and such and such. You just have to take his word for it.
Right.
Because the preacher says that the Lord took me into the third heavens and showed me things that is unlawful for a man to utter. He cannot say to you, don't take my word for what I just said. Go do the research for yourself. He can't say that. Because in order for you to do the research, you got to go to the third heaven. And hear what he heard. I mean, because there's no book. There's no evidence of the... Y'all grab what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So when it comes to the chakra concept, these so-called 7 energy centers in the body, and if you will Google chakras, you'll see that they have all these different colored things that look like flowers. What's really deep about it is, if you open up the body surgically to look for this diagram that you see as a first or second or third or fourth or fifth chakra, you can't find it in the body. Grab what I'm saying. Listen to me well. If I take a scalpel and open you up at your lowest chakra center, I will not find a chakra.
Okay.
It's not a medically established fact. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yet it is a philosophical concept.
All right.
But because it's a philosophical concept, it simply means that that's what somebody came up with.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can be proven. It simply means that's somebody's opinion, and that opinion was accepted as an authoritative reality. Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
So since I can't prove to you that these chakras exist, let me give you my philosophical take on it. Since I hold a PhD in philosophy, I think I'm entitled to do that.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
Let me give you my philosophical take on what they call the energy centers in the body. I simply call it development of life. That's what I call it. In other words, we don't read about little children having attained the 7th chakra. You know why? They ain't been here long enough. Got me? As a person grows, as a person develops intellectually, as a person develops emotionally, they ought to mature.
They ought to.
Notice I said they ought to. They ought to mature as they develop and grow. So as you develop and grow, you should be ascending to a higher state in your lifestyle. That's my philosophical take on it. In fact, that's really what the message of the Sphinx is really all about. Think about it for a moment. How many, if you can see the picture of the Sphinx in your mind from ancient Egypt, you see this massive structure with the body of a lion and this massive head of a pharaoh on top of it. I mean, anybody ever seen pictures of the Sphinx before? If you haven't been there, you've seen pictures of it. Good. So you know what I'm talking about, right? If you haven't seen it, just Google it so you can see the image of what I'm talking about. You see this massive head of a pharaoh on top of a body of a lion. And what is that supposed to mean? Are they saying, see, because folk who are not developed in their thinking think that that was some kind of ancient alien being. No, it's not an ancient alien being. That's our ancestors' way of saying to us that your animal nature should never be higher than your intellect.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Are y'all grabbing this?
Yes, sir.
However, it's hard to say that to a 5-year-old. Because they have not developed yet. It's hard to say that to a 10-year-old or to a teenager. It would be kind of something would be wrong with that teenager if they were walking around on that level of development, because that's just not a part of life's development process. So let's deal with this. This paper you have here, I'm only using this analogy to make my point here. I repeat, I do not hold to this view. Are y'all grabbing me?
Yes, sir.
The reason why I don't hold to this view is because I cannot open up your body and show you any one of these chakras or any one of these energy centers. I can't do it. And any images that you see of a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh chakra is somebody's philosophical concept. It is not a fact that can be validated. Are y'all sure y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Having said that, let's deal with the levels of development. That's what I call it. Or energy centers in your personal development. And I want you to write stuff down. I put a line on the right side of each one of these points for you to write on. So let's deal with these 7 levels. Now, in ancient Egypt, they had this thing called the Uraeus. That's, if y'all ever seen it, it's the headdress with the snake up here in front. The Druids, who had studied ancient Egyptian philosophical thought, which were Europeans from Ireland, who studied ancient philosophical thought from ancient Africa, wore the headdress of the Uraeus. Are y'all grabbing this?
Yeah.
Okay? And so when y'all hear of, what's this dude? St. Patrick, thank you. When you hear of St. Patrick's Day, okay, and you know, it's, all you got to do is understand what really happened, because the Pope Celestine, I believe it was, Pope Celestine commissioned Patrick, who was an ex-British slave, commissioned him to go into Ireland and build Catholic churches. Okay. Grab how deep this goes. Okay? Now, Patrick is credited for driving the snakes out of Ireland. You got this? Think, people, think. Come up here, and think and say, now, why would the Catholic Church make a man a saint for driving snakes out of Ireland? He didn't drive snakes out of Ireland. What he did is he went in and conquered or destroyed or killed hundreds of thousands of people who had taken on and understood the ancient African philosophical system of Ma'at. Who these Irish people were wearing the headdress with the Uraeus up front. And they would not accept Patrick's mission to set up Catholic churches, so the Roman Catholic Church went in and killed them.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yes.
And because he killed them and slaughtered these people who would not take on the ways of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Celestine coronated and made Patrick a saint. Because he set up over 300 Roman Catholic churches in Ireland after getting rid of the Druids, who wore the Uraeus on their heads. He didn't drive snakes out. He killed out the people who wore the Uraeus headdress. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so y'all remember that when they come up on St. Patrick's Day, okay? Remember that. Don't let your children make this little, what they call those shamrock things or whatever, dress up in greens and talk about the little leprechaun. You need to understand what the whole concept, there were no leprechauns. There was the twa. Little short African people who had migrated to that part of the world, who had that knowledge, who were considered magicians by the ignorant. And they call them leprechauns, magically delicious. Got your children eating, what is it, Lucky Charms? Magically delicious. A leprechaun. No, there were no leprechauns. They were Africans, twa. Man. Okay, on your paper, the bottom circle there is called the first or lower base energy center, or the root energy center. I want y'all to write this word on the line next to it. Sephet. Sefekt. It's pronounced, spelled S-E-F-E-K-H-T. Now, what I'm sharing with you now is a philosophical concept. How many of you guys ever heard of Muhammad Ashby? Okay, Muhammad Ashby. Muhammad Ashby is the author of Kemetic philosophical thought. He got books out like Kemetic Yoga and various books on Egyptian philosophical thought. Okay, so I'm sharing with you what he says about these energy centers as a pattern to make my point. And the reason why I'm sharing Muhammad Ashby's philosophy with you today instead of Hindu philosophy is because we're not Hindus. At least Muhammad Ashby talks about it from an African perspective. And I want you to know this is not Ray Hagins' philosophical thought. This is Muhammad Ashby's concept. But I want to use his concept to bring you to the point of getting to Calvary. Am I making clear what I'm saying? Okay. S-E-F, that's in Foxtrot. S-E-F-E-K-H-T. That should go on the line right there by the red circle. Everybody say Sefekt.
Sefekt.
Notice how I'm saying it. Sefekt. Say it.
Sefekt.
Sefekt is the root-based center, which is located at the base of the spine. According to Mu'ada, the energies and activities here are concerned with what? So everybody say survival issues.
Survival issues.
And in that unbalanced state, when people who live on this level, now as I go through this, you're going to say, "Ooh, I know people who are there." I don't want you to do that. Stop looking at other people. I want you to look at yourself. People who live on this level live in an unbalanced state. They live in fear. People who live on this level manifest selfishness. They're self-centered and they're very possessive. And the reason for that is because all they're thinking about is themselves.
Yes.
People who live on this level of the lower base energy center, that's where you live. That's the energy that you exude. And of course, the symbol for this lower base level is the coiled snake, known as Apopis. Apopis, A-P-O-P-I-S, in ancient Kemetic thought is known as the enemy of Ra, or the enemy of God. So in essence, when you live on this level, you are completely operating on the lowest level of existence. You might dress up and look good on the outside, but you're living on the lowest level of existence. Your thinking is in the gutter. Your thinking, you're always concerned with, where's your boyfriend at? Where's your girlfriend at? Who are they with? What are they doing? Because that's where your thinking is, on that low level. You become very possessive. You become very selfish. And you live in fear of the fact that things ain't going to work out for you. Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy. This area is expressed through what is called dormant and uncontrolled. Everybody say uncontrolled.
Uncontrolled.
Sexual energy.
Sexual energy.
So our prime task at this level of development is to move ourselves to the next level and stop thinking that the entire world or everybody lives on this level like you do. The next level, going up to the orange circle, is called in ancient Egypt Tet, spelled T-E-K-H. So next to the orange circle, write that word, T-E-K-H. Tet is the area where we find the sexual organs of procreation. Now, if control controlled, grab this well now, if controlled by the higher energy centers, then right energy is absorbed in this area. Now, what organs did I just tell you associated with this?
Sexual.
Your sexual organs, right? So if you're living on a higher energy level, grab how deep this goes. If you're living on a higher energy level, when you involve yourself in sexual activity, you are able to literally plant seeds of a genius. Hear me? When you're living on a higher energy level, you're not engaging in an animalistic act, but an act of procreation. You realize that you're actually procreating or recreating the energy level that you're living on. So therefore, when you give birth, men, women, when you give birth, when you have a child, if you're living on a high energy level, you give birth to Christs instead of delinquents.
Okay.
I'm not getting it. You grab what I'm saying.
Yes.
But you have to be on a higher energy level. You have to be on a level to where you're not controlled by sexual energy, but you engage in sexual activity for the purpose of creating oncoming masters. Those people who are psychologically and spiritually developed only to this level are frequently preoccupied with sexual thoughts and desires. Now, it's really important. Everybody say this. On the first level of Sefet,
On the first level of
Sefet and Tet, you are not a threat
you're not a threat
to anyone.
to anything.
Let's look at the third level. Next to the yellow circle, just to the right of the yellow circle, write the word Ab, A-B. This level is in the area of the solar plexus. And this is the area that gives you the sense of power, a sense of will. How many of you in here know anything about martial arts? Cool. If you know anything about martial arts, you were taught that this is the area of your chi. Your chi is your power. And if you notice when you're doing your katas and your evergreen and your forms, you bring your chi in right here into this area. Because it's the area that the Chinese call the chi, or area of power. It is in this area that you have a proper understanding that will help promote health by increased digestion. A lot of people have some serious digestion problems. And the reason for that is because this area that's called the ab is out of balance. Stuff ain't moving through your digestive system the way it ought to, because you're not in balance in this area of your energy center. The result of getting imbalanced, from this is you will develop a prerequisite for higher spiritual advancement. Now, on this paper, just above this third level called Ab, you see where I have a stitch line there. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, now what that means is most of us are living on these three levels I just talked about. Most of us have not ascended higher than these three levels of Sefet, Tet, and Ab. I want to make a notation here. Put it on your paper now. The higher levels are necessary for the evolution to spirituality. When you're living on those three lower levels, you ain't spiritual. You ain't about to be spiritual. So in order for you to go to the higher levels of spirituality, you must now move to the next levels. And the fourth level that you see there on your paper, where the dark green circle is, just above the stitch line, is called Kepper. Write that on the right side of that green circle, Kepper. K-H-E-P-E-R, Kepper. And for those of you who don't know, the word Kepper simply means new beginning, new birth. In fact, it is at this level that the ancient Egyptians felt that you are now being born again. So in other words, how many of you remember the story in the Bible where Nicodemus came to Jesus and Jesus said, you must be born again? The analogy there is that the teacher is telling this brother, you got to ascend to a higher level of living than where you are. You worried about material things. You worried about your position in society. Okay, you worried about your friends and your neighbors. You worried about all that kind of stuff. You worried about what shoes you're going to wear. You worried about how your hair going to look and getting your hair and your nails did. That's all the three lower levels what I'm talking about. You worried about all this mess that don't even matter. Where you standing in the mirror for a whole hour trying to coordinate. Okay, so in order for you to be born again, you got to go to higher levels. And that's one of the reasons why Carlton Pearson's church is even called Higher Dimensions. This fourth level known as Kepler is in the area of the heart. Now notice, connect the dots here. I told you that the name of it is called what? Kepler. When the sun rises in the morning, it is called Kepler Ra. Meaning a new day, new birth. Are y'all grabbing this? There is a beetle called a dung beetle in Egypt. What the dung beetle does is he finds some manure and he rolls it into a ball which represents the sun, and he lays his eggs in that ball of dung. That beetle is called the Kepler. Meaning this is the way of new birth. So when his eggs hatch, it is being born out of manure. Are y'all connecting this?
Yes, sir.
So the new birth is Kepler. Being born again is Kepler. Coming to this point in your development is called Kepler. You are born again by ascending to this point in your development, the area of the heart. And that's why Christian preachers say, and when you ain't born again if your heart ain't right. Because this is in the area of the heart. How do you know if a person's been born again? Because their heart changes. It is in the area of Kepler. Oh man, grab this. It is in the area of Kepler that you honestly stop thinking so much about yourself. And you start putting more attention on what's best for others and those around you. Am I making sense, people? Oh, buddy. This level of existence is also related to something called the thymus. Grab how deep this goes. I want you to connect the dots here and see the science of our ancient ancestors here. The area of Kepler is the area of the heart. It is also connected to the thymus, which is just above the heart, a gland in the body. Now, the deep thing about the thymus gland, how many of you ever heard of the thymus gland before? The thymus gland is a very important gland in the body. You know why? Because the thymus gland is the gland in the body that manufactures and produces what is called T cells. It's the T cells in your body that help you to stay strong and fight off diseases. When your T cell count weakens your immune system becomes compromised. So grab how deep this goes. People who are not in proper balance in the area of Kepler, these are people who get sick a lot. These are people who are constantly dealing with colds and URIs, upper respiratory infections, because they're not in balance in this area. They're not balanced here as they ought to be. So things are not right in their immune system. Am I making sense, people? Yeah, buddy. When you're not right in this area, you engage in self-destructive behavior patterns. You get involved in self-defeating activities. You get involved in toxic relationships. And the problem is you blaming everybody else. And the problem is you. You haven't been born again. You haven't been, your Kepler is out of balance. Your heart area, your thymus is out of balance. And so you start blaming the world around you for stuff ain't going right in your life. So what you do is you get into attitudes and behavior patterns that ain't cool. You get to the point that folk don't like being around you. Oh man, this is deep. You're not a good, pleasant person to be around because you become cantankerous. Uh-oh. And here's the other deep thing about that. When you're out of balance in this area, you find yourself overworking a lot. You get frustrated easily. You resort to drugs to help you get through the day. When you're out of balance in the area of Kepler, you find that you're not in the situation to freely give love. This is the area of your heart. You're not in the area to freely give love. You know why? Because you don't love yourself right.
Right.
And because you don't love yourself right, you can't understand how somebody else can love you right. Is this making sense, people?
Yes.
So if we're not cautious, now here's the tragedy of this area. If we're not cautious, we end up getting trapped in cyclical activity in this area. In other words, because you're talking about your heart, you're talking about your emotions, okay? You giving off negative energy, so the person you're giving off negative energy to responds to you with negative energy, and you're looking for positive energy, but they can't give you positive energy because you're giving off negative energy, so they give you negative energy back, which means you respond with negative energy, and you start this cycle going. And it's like, well, how do we get out of this? How do we heal ourselves from this situation? I'm waiting for you to treat me right, and he's waiting for you to treat him right. Oh, man. Because your Kepler is out of balance. So then you start saying, well, we got a problem. Everybody say, ain't no we got a problem.
Ain't no we got a problem.
Say, me got a problem.
Me got a problem.
See, once you understand that me got a problem, then the we will work out. Okay? But as long as you're saying you got a problem, then that means you're not going to focus on me. You're not going to focus on the I. You're not going to focus on the self to get yourself in right balance before you can. Man, come on here. Let's understand how this thing works. Let's understand how this thing works. We are. Look at somebody next to you and ask them this question. Some of y'all probably feel you don't need to ask this question at all because you passed that point in your life of development. But look at somebody and say, what do you bring to the table? Some of us say, I got my own table. I ain't trying to bring nothing to the table. See, when you reach a certain point in life, that's your mentality. You follow what I'm saying? I ain't worried about bringing nothing to the table. I got my own table. And if you want to come to my table, you better bring your own table with you when you come to my table. Don't come to my table thinking you're going to get something from my table. Hell no. You bring your own table. And we'll put our two tables together and we can have a banquet. Y'all get how this goes? People looking to the other person to make their life better. That's the worst thing in the world you can do. look to somebody else to make your life better. You don't do that. You get your life better. And then you don't let nobody in your space to mess up. Yeah, y'all got it. I worked hard being born again. I worked hard at getting this thing right. I'm going to let you into my space so you can throw me off balance again? No! Let me see your Kepler. Before you come into my space, let me make sure your Kepler is in right balance. If your Kepler is in right balance and my Kepler is in right balance, when we get together, hey! Is this making sense, people? Let's move to the fifth level. The next circle up, which is that light blue circle there, and this is the fifth level in the energy center, and it's called Sekhem. It's spelled S-E-K-H-E-M, Sekhem. This is in the level of the throat. Now, check how deep this goes, because the level of Kepler and the level of Sekhem are very closely related and connected. Because when your Kepler is not in right balance, it affects, of course, your Sekhem, which is the next level up. And this is the area of the throat. This is the energy of what is called the Medju nectar. Medju meaning divine. Nectar is speech or words. So in the area of the Sekhem is where when you open your mouth, grab how deep this goes. When you open your mouth, the things that come out of your mouth uplifts other people. When this area is in right balance. Now let me show you how deep this goes. In the biblical text, we read where Jesus said to his people, if you believe as the scriptures have said, in other words, if you have gotten yourself together like you're supposed to have yourself together, when you open your mouth, the Bible says, out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. When you open your mouth to speak. Well, in the area of Sekhem, when you're not in proper balance here, negative stuff comes from your lips. Ooh, let me help y'all here. Negative stuff comes out your mouth. And see, we have not developed to the point of learning how to keep our mouth shut. See, you need to get to the point to where you understand that when you're not in right balance in this area, keep your mouth shut.
Thank you.
Why, Brother Ray, do I need to keep my mouth shut? I need to give them a piece of my mind. You need to keep your mouth shut simply because words are like bullets. Once they leave your lips, you cannot pull them back. And see, what we want to do, man, is we want to let people know where we really are right now. Not thinking about the fact that some words don't just put a hole in your chest. Some words decapitate you. And once you say stuff that cuts somebody's head off, then you calm down and you want to say, I'm sorry. Look at somebody and say, once you decapitate a person, I'm sorry. Don't mean squat.
Don't mean squat.
So in the area of Sekhem, when it's not in right balance, this is the area of divine speech. This is the area where your words have power. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
This is the area where your words have power. Power to kill or power to heal. Now the deep thing about it is when you're not in right balance in this area, you have a problem with your communication skills. Grab how deep this goes. You want to know why you and your significant other have a problem communicating? Because of imbalance in this area. So what happens is when you're not in right balance in the area of Sekhem, you start shouting and yelling all the time. You don't talk to each other, you holler at each other. And one raises their voice, another one raises their voice higher. Another raises their voice, another raises. So the person who has developed this in this area, they learn how to quiet down. Let me refer to a Bible verse for those who are developed in this area. Here's what the Bible says. A soft answer turneth away wrath. when you're developed in the area of Second, you know how to quiet yourself. Because you know that when this person starts getting all out here, it don't make sense for you to get all out here too. Now grab how deep this goes. Because see, sisters, brothers, hear me well. Sisters know just what to say to make a brother go ballistic. God, the universe, the ancestors has given y'all the gift of saying exactly what you need. See, and since we brothers can't keep up with you in that area, when you say things that you make our fist ball up. Because see, we don't know how to come back at you in the area of Second because you are better at that than we are. And y'all can say it, but then you put your hand in the neck going and everything. So ain't but one thing for the brother to do, or two things. He either got to leave out the house or knock you out. So brothers, walk away. Y'all hear what I'm saying? If your second ain't in right balance, let your feet get involved in this thing and walk away. Walk away, get yourself in right balance, and then come back and say, "No, baby, we ain't got to go through all that. You know we ain't got to go through all that." And if she's still, let your feet get into it again. Come on back later. Maybe I told you we don't have to go through all that. After a while, she'll start calming down. She started again. Then let your second say, "Baby, you sound like you want to be by yourself." And we're going to try this one more time. Okay? And when her brain hears that, she yeah. When you're out of balance in the area of Sechem, you suffer sore throats a lot. You're hoarse a lot because your communication vehicle is messed up. Let's go to the next level so I can close this. The sixth level is called Mer. That's the second circle down from the top. It's called Mer. It's spelled M-E-R. This is known as the area of the third eye. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Now the third eye, we say it's right here. Right? Have y'all ever seen, especially sisters, with the little thing right here in their forehead? They're trying to let you know they can see with their third eye. They're trying to let you know that. But sisters who do that, let me share something with you. You don't have to put something on your forehead to see with your third eye. Okay? In fact, one of the ways I know that you do see with your third eye is in your behavior. Not by what you put on your forehead. This is the level of, everybody say, intuitive wisdom.
Intuitive wisdom.
Now, brothers and sisters, can y'all see what I meant when I said, as we talk about these levels of development and energy centers, can you see how life itself should bring you to these levels?
Yes.
As you get older,
Yes.
okay, you should be experiencing the things that I'm saying. It's not that you can go take a class on this stuff. See, we got people who are going out taking classes trying to learn how to do their chakras and envision their chakras and think that because they can see in their mind and their vision these energy centers in their body and make it do different things that they do, and they pay hundreds of dollars to go take a class for something that you can't teach.
That's right.
You grow through this. You don't take a class for this. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So this third eye is the level of intuitive wisdom. What kind of wisdom did I just say?
Intuitive wisdom.
Intuitive wisdom, not intellectual wisdom. Intuitive wisdom. Intuitive wisdom means that you have reached a point in your growth and development that there's some things you just don't even have to think about. Your intuition tells you, Your intuition tells you, okay, yes. Your intuition speaks when you encounter a thing or a person. Your intuitive wisdom kicks in and tells you, this person ain't cool. No. You know, your intuitive, and see a lot of the elders now, y'all get what I'm saying? As we get older in life, we grow through these stages. You get to the point to where you start meeting people, and when people approach you, you can see right through their masks. Can I get it out straight? You can see right through their masks, and they come to you, and you may try to present themselves to you for their hidden agenda.
Right.
But your intuitive wisdom enables you to see through that mask, and you still come and say, well, it's good meeting you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? When you're at this level, you know something instead of thinking about it.
Right.
You just know it. Now, what's deep about it is you might not be able to articulate it, but you know it. Okay? And when you get to this level of living here, man, it starts kicking in. Even when you go to do something like the doctor may prescribe certain medications for you. Okay, your intuitive wisdom says, my spirit ain't feeling that. Now, the doctor, what do you call this stuff again? No. I went through that some time ago. Shared testimony. I went to this doctor, and I went for my pilot's physical. And the doctor told me that my PSA was high. Okay? And he sent me to a urologist. So urologist, did this thing that we brothers don't like. And he had big hands too. Man. But what was deep about it is, after he examined me, he said, oh, you fine, you okay, no problem. Okay? And I said, thank God, I'm good. All right. And so he called me back to his office and said, I want you to come back, I want to do a biopsy. My intuitive wisdom said, nope. So I called his office, I said, man, listen, I'm not coming for that. Because my spirit was telling me ain't nothing wrong. And so he tried to make me come in, and it's deep. One of the things that caused my spirit to say that is because when I went to him the first time, there was all black men in his office. And everybody in the waiting room had prostate cancer. And four of the brothers sitting there said, I didn't have prostate cancer until I came here. I didn't even know I had prostate cancer until I came. The doctor told me I had prostate cancer. And my spirit saying, something ain't right. And I'm looking at all these brothers getting ready to pass up out of here. And I said, yeah, something ain't kicking here. My spirit just wasn't grabbing. So I told him, I'm not coming back. So he called my doctor and referred me over. And when I went back to my doctor said, well, how are we going to treat you if you're not going to follow our instructions? I said, doctor, I just came to you because I'm a pilot and I needed an exam. Okay? All right? But there's something in me that tells me that something ain't quite right about this. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks. We're going to take this test again. And da-da-da-da-da. And I did. I went back in a couple of weeks, took the test again. And instead of 5 point something, it was 3.2. Now, brothers who know they know what I'm saying, which is fine. And I said, see what I'm talking about? See? So I was talking to my friend Dr. Morgan. He said, Ray, I'm so glad your spirit told you no. Because once they stick that needle in your prostate, you have just opened up the realm for cancer cells to walk up in there. So if you don't have prostate cancer, now you can put a hole in your prostate so cancer cells can easily get up in there. See what I'm saying? So you got to learn how to listen to your intuition. just because the man got MD behind his, oh man, I don't know why I'm saying this, but just because the man got MD behind his name don't mean he know what he's talking about.
Right.
Look at somebody next to you and say, that's why he's practicing medicine. He'll tell you, I'm practicing. They don't practice on me. Let's deal with this last level here. The top circle at the top of the head on the diagram is called it. I-K-H. Write that there. It. Now let me hear you say it. It. Notice how I'm saying it. Put some energy in it. This is the level where the dualistic mind becomes united into one. What do you mean the dualistic mind, Brother Ray? Well, brothers and sisters, we have what is called the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain. Brothers, we live mostly in the left hemisphere of the brain. Sisters, y'all live mostly in the right hemisphere of the brain. And that's why we have a problem. Okay? Because in the left hemisphere of the brain, where it's an analysis. Okay? And on the right hemisphere of the brain is synthesis. The left hemisphere of the brain wants to know why to everything. The right hemisphere of the brain says you don't need to know why to everything. Just do it. That's why we have a problem. See? Because in left hemisphere of the brain, sisters, you want to talk about things. In the right hemisphere of the brain, sisters, y'all want to talk about things. And the brother in the left hemisphere of the brain is saying, what do you want to talk about? So sister, in the right hemisphere of the brain, you say, I don't know. I just want to talk. So the left hemisphere of the brain says to you, well, how are we going to talk if you don't know what you want to talk about? So when you know what you want to talk about, come back and we'll talk. And then the right hemisphere of the brain where emotions are, sisters, y'all say, see what I'm talking about? You don't listen to me. Right hemisphere of the brain says, what you mean I don't listen to you? I asked you, what do you want to talk about? You get what I'm saying? Left hemisphere of the brain wants to know why I got to break it down this way. Why it's got to be done this way. And so when you reach this point of it, is when the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain becomes one. When you're on this level, this is where Apopis, that coiled serpent at the lowest level that I told you about earlier, now becomes the Uranus. With the head of a cobra out like this, instead of coiled up like it's ready to attack. When you get to this level of existence, this is the highest achievement of spiritual movement. This level of consciousness represents the level of transcendence. When you get to this point, you're actually able to transcend mess. When you get to this level, stuff that seems to be so important to other people about stuff ain't all that important. When you get to this level, you learn to get beyond those insignificant things that don't really matter. Right. When you get to this level called Ik, or what is also called Calvary, what is also called Golgotha, you're at the point, brothers and sisters, to whereas jealousies and insecurities are insignificant and don't bother you. When you get to this point in your relationships, you ain't got time to be concerned with where he is. Or what is she doing? You don't even think on that level no more. When you get, because you are at a higher calling now. When you reach this level called it, now mind you, don't think that you go to these levels and forget the other levels. the other one, and then move to the next one and forget about the other one. No, as you move to these levels, all of them should be in proper alignment and harmony with each other, but they should all be controlled by it, or Calvary. When you reach the level of it, you're not confined to the thinking of the way they want you to think. You're not locked into suppositions. You're not locked into what people say things are supposed to be. Well, you're supposed to do such and such. That's who? Where's that written at? Who told you that? When you reach the level of it or Calvary in your development, this is when you start thinking outside the box. You're not confined in your thinking when you reach the level of Calvary or it. And when you reach the level of Calvary or it, then you become a threat to the establishment because you're able to see past the illusions that they give you. Am I making sense, people? I remember in the movie The Matrix, Neo asked the question. He said to Morpheus, he said, "Why are my eyes hurting?" And Morpheus said, "Because you've never used them before. Everything that's in your mind is what was put there by the Matrix. Everything in your thought processes is what was put there by the Matrix. Now you're disconnected from the lie. Now you're disconnected from the program, and you're able to see things as they really are." Are y'all grabbing this?
Yes, sir.
Once you get to the level of Calvary, you can see things as they really are. You can see people as they really are. Once you get to the level of Calvary, you understand some folk ain't no need even trying to help them. Because they just going to be what they are, and they ain't about to change. They've been like this forever. And they ain't getting ready to change. So since you know they ain't getting ready to change, you change.
There you go.
Since you know they're not getting ready to change, when you get to the level of Calvary, you just, when you see them, you have the power to not see them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Are y'all getting this? I mean, I know you're standing there, but it don't really matter to me. When you get to the level of Calvary, you see people's agenda.
Yes.
And it don't upset you because you understand that their agenda is only powerful to them. Oh, y'all ain't hearing me. When you get to the level of Calvary, you see things as they really are. And you're able to address stuff before it even gets into your face. Oh, man. Let me close this. Again, the Bible says, "And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there, at Calvary," grab this, because the word there means as long as you are at that place. It don't just mean when you get there. It means as long as you are at that place. There, they crucified them, which means that as long as you're living on this level, everybody that you encounter who is not on that level is going to want to crucify you.
There you go.
But it's okay. Look at somebody and say it's okay.
Okay.
Because see, the good thing about it, once you're crucified, that's it.
Yep.
Once you're crucified, that's it. You can't crucify me over and over and over and over again. Once I've been crucified, that's it. Okay, so now since I understand what crucifixion is really about, bring it on. Hey, bring it on, brother. If it makes you feel better to attack me, then go and attack me then. If it makes you feel better, you understand? If it makes you feel better to think that you got to expect, well, see, everybody say this. Everybody say this. People have a bad problem of thinking that their opinion really matters. See, so you get to the point where once you get to Calvary, you let a person, let them express themselves. And people go off. Somebody said to me the other day, "You're really beside yourself." I said, "Okay. If that's how you're entitled to think that if you want to. You're fucking, go ahead and think that." I thought that was going to calm him down. It only made him more angry.
Yeah.
Because see, people who are out of balance say stuff to throw you off balance. And when they see that they're not throwing you off balance, oh man, y'all hear this? When they see they ain't throwing you off balance, then their attack gets deeper. And when their attack gets deeper, you know what you do? You just... Just don't mess up and try to put your hands on them. That's right. You know, say whatever you want to say, think whatever you want to think. See, now, when you have to try to defend who and what you are, that means you ain't there yet. You ain't there yet. Because you're actually allowing what they think to affect what you think about yourself. Oh, y'all ain't hearing me? Oh, man. So go on and crucify him. Let them crucify you. That's okay. When people want to do that to you, it only lets you know that you have ascended.
Okay.
Because if you were on their level,
Okay.
they wouldn't be going through us right now.
Thanks,
right.
Thank you.
Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Ashe.
Yes, sir.
To the one true and living God, who is the creator and sustainer of all things, we give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor, and we say thank you for being so wonderful in our life. God, I pray that you continue to bless us to grow in our development. Help us to reach the point to where we can ascend and transcend all of the insignificant stuff that adds nothing to who we are. Continue to use us. Yeah. Have your way in us, and we'll give you strength and glory and power and praise. We thank you for being what you are in our lives. Use us in a powerful way, I pray. Help us to make a difference in someone else's life. And we'll give you honor. We'll give you glory. We'll give you praise. Continue to speak in our hearts and our minds, and we'll hear you. But most of all, empower us to keep silent at the right time. And we'll honor you always. If there's someone here today who would like to become a part of this movement, there are membership registration forms in the foyer out there. We ask that you take them and fill it out.